Welcome back to World Inkers Network, a Parrot TV show. We're here to discuss Parrot, the Literary Parrot Volume 4, Celebration of Life. We have Damon Freed, Sankha Sen with us today. We're going to just go into right now, we're going to discuss Sankha's story, which was an excellent quantum quotient story about adding artificial intelligence to, or altering the human intelligence quotient through quantum technology. So let's go into that. And Sanka, just tell us a little bit about the genesis of the story. Like, where did you come up with this idea, and what do you think? What relevance it has for the world today?
Yeah, if you have seen my kind of the series which have actually been going on with series one, two, three,
Mm-hmm.
like initially I kind of touched on the emotional part of human beings, like I brought in some romance into my first story. I think where through the tone, one kind of catches his or her partner. So that is also something which actually which actually a human brain can do. And later on, I think I touched on another artificial intelligence where in one guy meets himself in a different time domain, in a different space domain, and was really surprised. And now I kind of wanted to see what really affects us most, and what really makes us feel that we are falling behind some other guys and all, and that is nothing but our own intelligence. And then this thought kind of touched me when I thought like, why can't we really switch on this intelligence based on our need? And then came up this thought like, okay, there are a couple of, I don't know whether anybody has really thought of this aspect, but it's a fiction, so it has no borders, it has no boundaries, so you can really broaden your thought space and bring in such ideas, and which actually at the end might sell if it really is useful for the humanity. And so I came up with this thing, and there are a couple of researches going on into this quantum computing, if you have heard of it, this qubit concept, and where it enormously enhances the computing capacity of computers. And there are some rumors or maybe some facts where people really talk about that, like our brain being that fast and really have that computing power of an Q computer or quantum computer. So this all this research works which is going on, and my own ideas kind of assimilated, and I kind of thought like bring into as a short story, because I have been going on explaining that unless you kind of bring in a real lifetime example or a story, it's difficult to kind of connect well to the readers, because for few people quantum technology might be little kind of foreign to them,
Mm-hmm.
and but for majority of the people, if they kind of see themselves in the place of a reader and kind of take the journey as well through my story, and kind of visualize themselves with the story, so it helps them to kind of get into the technology part or into the concept part without really having to do a course in quantum theory. So that way, that is actually the behind of, I think, all the science fiction writers across the globe. And yes, that story, yes, it kind of, as you said rightly, that there are some aspects of how we can take the kind of a kind of measurement or a level based on different DNAs from different persons having different IQs, intelligent quotient, and kind of setting up kind of a target or for this software, which might actually change the intelligence of human beings if and then we kind of from the DNA bank take different measurements, and based on the need of as I mentioned in the story, a mother wants to kind of switch the intelligence of her kid, and
Hmm.
based on the need. And also I kind of touched on the aspect saying that what will really happen if we go across the wish of destiny, because uh, at the end, however we tried to alter our DNA or intelligence or whatever the genetic capabilities, um, how much can we disobey the rule of destiny? So that part is it's something which I'm really curious to get a viewpoint of the readers. How do they take that point? Because yes, we are born, we will live our life, we make choices. Some say it is the choice of the Almighty. Some say yes. Nowadays we are so much aware of the environment, the space across. We can kind of manipulate our own choices. Is it really true? Can you really do that or not? Can you really change the destiny and change the intelligence? And in such a way that we might as well um, go on generating Albert Einstein one after the other in a model way, like today being his birthday. So I'd like to kind of take his
But
name.
Einstein believed that a mouse that looks at the universe does not change the universe. So
Yes,
there's a conundrum there in that, I mean, will, or I mean, maybe a mouse has zero movement or motion or thinking power, but I doubt it. Uh, I tend to disagree. My point is, um, my feedback. I'll put it on that level. My feedback, Sanka, to your poem was that it ended in beauty, but that,
it's a short story actually. Yeah.
or sorry, I that's my
It's okay.
fault.
It's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your short story and its success. I will give you an accolade here because your success um, in, as you say, assimilating the word or symbolizing your thought on the page was seemingly accurate, with what you're trying to venture into, adventure into. So when you say that science, I mean, sci- sci-fi is always most successful. Correct me if I'm wrong because I haven't read much of it. But if they get across these ideas successfully in a science where the reader is understands, a scientific method, or even at its most base rudimentary level, they're at least coerced into believing, persuaded into believing that that and they do understand partially what that science is, right? I mean, I hope so. I mean, coerced isn't the right word. Persuaded is probably not the right word either, because I took your writing rather sincerely.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and I like it for that reason alone. And, you left it almost in my mind with a question. It was you mentioned destiny, but also what's the other side of it? I mean, how would you coin that?
Yeah. Like initially, as you said, that I have also given lifetime examples wherein two
Thank you.
twin. Thanks a lot. Two twins, like sisters,
Okay.
wherein they kind of think in a
Ah,
paired way, which kind of connects with that
right.
quantum tunneling, right? So if you do something here, something somewhere else in the space domain is also getting affected by it. So that's a concept of quantum tunneling. So I kind of touched with that this twin sisters concept, And at
Wait,
the end, as you rightly also caught through my speech today, that yes, I would like to understand how much impact does it have on the future, and how much impact will it also have on the scientific community if they kind of are successful in altering the human intelligence, and to that extent, will that really make people happy, or will that really make people sadder? Because the moment you know more about what actually is going to happen to you, and you might actually turn out to be more sad. So whether
I
it's
I not that. Sorry to interrupt.
okay.
Go ahead.
Free will, and I mean, really, it comes down to free will versus predetermination, right? I mean,
Yeah,
free will. I mean, that's the two philosophical concepts being played
yeah,
out. I mean,
Right. And I
in
think
this
really interesting aspect is that there's a contradiction between the two ideas, but they seem to in life itself seems
yeah,
to embody both in a certain. So there's sort of a quantum entanglement going on there of these ideas. And I've
correct.
always
yeah,
explored this. This has been a really central focus of mine for a long time, of whether or not we're really in control of things as much as we think we are. And I think, there's various ways of looking at the formula and determining whether or not, for your own perspective, do we have free will? Are we more, causally determined? Is there necessity interacting with us? Is there, what is exactly behind our nature? Is there a divine will that, we're set to a certain thing, and this is the trajectory we must take, and if we try to navigate away from that, then there's punishment, that's sort of like
The
the
biblical,
will in the biblical view, I guess you could say, yeah, or the Christian worldview,
the,
or
the religious, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
religious, yeah, and then Sanka, I think, is proposing that what if we could change our fundamental nature, and to a certain extent, like would it be a
That,
good thing or a bad thing? Would it lead us astray, or would it be something it would advance us?
or maybe it just is changing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like for example,
Not,
you know that the current medical advancement which you have currently in the medicine world, so many medicines has come up. They're even kind of stopping heart attacks, and stopping so much lives. And
Mhm.
is it is it under the kind of guidance of this divine will, or that human beings will really advance so much that they can change their lifespan,
I
or
think, I
It's
think
is
you're right.
ingrained. Well,
I,
when we early on in our history, when we invented agriculture, we used to combine plants in a certain way. It was like kind of in the same way we're talking about changing our fundamental nature. We never, I don't think we've ever gone into changing ourselves, but we have changed nature to, like, by breeding plants and breeding animals and things like that. So I think there's something fundamental to humans that we have the mastery to. If we have the knowledge to do something and do it well, I think it'd be worth pursuing something like that.
yeah, the
That's my thing.
biggest
it seems
like
as though we've been given that right.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I sometimes I think like the biggest, I don't know, it's a tragedy or a blessing when human beings will never die.
Yeah.
So they will be immortal, and whether it's a tragedy or a blessing, I really wonder.
Do you think we
Uh,
will?
who knows? I mean, if the genetic advancements which you're doing, and currently like anti-aging concepts which are coming up, and
We've had
uh,
those for a while. We
Yeah,
had
we
cryogenics back in the past. I remember in the 90s that was a big thing. They tried to freeze Ted Williams and bring him back to life or something, and it didn't really work out the way they expected. I remember that, and I was just thinking it. Like we always want to invent something that makes our lives like phenomenally greater, longer, and so forth. And I don't know if
yeah,
we
like
can do that.
yeah, hibernation is always a concept
Yeah.
where you really go into sleeping mode, but that also has kind of end date to that. But what happens if we really kind of stop this death concept? So if you could really stop dying,
Hmm.
um, will it at all be possible, or that is also some kind of concept which I'm actually thinking. And what is the psychological part to that, or the philosophical aspect of that? Is like, is this lifespan good for humanity, or is good for individual people, or how do they really kind of um
It's
talk
good for.
about our future existence on this planet Earth? Will it really lead to overpopulation, or
I
will it? Yes.
I think we'll find a way. I mean, human beings are unbelievably flexible. I mean,
Yep.
they're
That's
making
their to our
food
credit.
out of air from a scientific study that NASA discarded in the 60s now.
Mhm.
So they can make food. Somehow they charge the air with a positive or with a negative charge or something like that. I don't know. They talked about the science. It was on NPR, public radio, and this lady was a food tester, and she's getting ready to taste this food that is designed to taste like chicken. Um, this is a little bit of a tangent, but what my ultimately my point is that if we can make food out of air, if we can make energy out of air, I mean, if we can do things, there's two sides of it to me. I mean, what kind of world do we live in that this is the negative one that 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 we need to do these things, as opposed to what Dustin was saying earlier. What about good agriculture and farming concepts?
Mhm.
Whatever brought us to the point where we have to eat food that comes from the air. Uh, and then what's the flip side of that, you all? I mean, I mean, see, that's why personally, I don't think opposites is always the most effective way to go,
Mhm.
because it's either this or it's either or. And what we do as poets so well is to I think go beyond that, right? I mean we go beyond relationships of either or into the unknown.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
so unless you're in that mind frame, that moment, I mean, if we
Embrace
got
the
some time,
paradox.
we can probably take this conversation into that realm of being.
Yeah.
But it gets,
Right. We have about 2 minutes till the end, so we'll have to bring that one up another time.
I'm sure you,
We wish we could just go on forever, but I think the viewers would get kind of like nauseated after a while.
right. After all, it's a celebration of life, and it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing, right?
I mean, this
I,
has
I,
been a
I I
really
would like to
remarkable.
kind of touch on what Damon's really started
Okay.
this thought. Like, yes, literature is something which really opens doors to scientific explorations. I believe, like, literature gives you the
Thank you.
freedom of moving across the space in all dimensions, and that
So,
gives us a kind of a target for the scientists across the globe. Like, if literature brings this kind of ideas, whether it's at all feasible, let's try to experiment through mathematics if it's feasible or not. And who knows, at some point we come up with formulas like E is equal to mc square or something like that, and then a wonder happens. Yeah.
Literature equals energy, energy squared. Well, with that said, I think we will conclude today's program. Thanks, Damon and Sanka, for being on today. It's been a really lovely talk, and I enjoyed it
You're
a lot.
welcome.
So,